Hello students, a hearty welcome to Global Online. So this video is regarding Jammu Kashmir set or Ladakh set 2022 paper 1 preparation, and in this video we will be looking at questions from communication unit. So we will be looking at 50 most expected MCQs in the examination. 5 questions will come from this unit, which will be a total of 10 marks. So do watch this video till the end to know what kind of questions can come in the examination from this unit. To boost your preparation for JKSET or LASET 2022 Paper 1 preparation, we have brought a complete course for you students, which will comprise of full syllabus video lectures on all the units of Paper 1. Along with that, you will get comprehensive notes on all the 10 units. We will be also providing you 40 plus mock tests for practice, and you will also get previous year's question paper of 2018, 2016 and 2013. So if you practice these previous year's question paper, you will get an idea of what kind of questions are asked in the examination. So if you study from our course, we guarantee you selection, because you can easily secure or score 75 marks in paper 1, because we have brought the best strategies for your examination. So the fees for paper 1 is 3000 rupees, but we are giving it at a discounted price of 2100 only. So to join our course, you can download Global Online app. The link is there in the description box. Alternatively, you can contact us on our WhatsApp number. The number is given on the screen, and you can join us.
Okay, the first question here is what is required for good communication? So, as you all know, there are certain factors or certain elements that you should keep in mind for having a effective communication. Is it clarity of thoughts, dramatic presentation like you see in the Sasbahu serial on the television? No, that is not good communication. Speaking in mild tone. So mild tone is not important, students. Your tone should be as per the situation. Speaking without pause. So sometimes a person is not very good in a particular language, so he might use some pauses. So even if you're using if even if you're saying without pause, that is also not very important. The most important is clarity of thoughts is the right answer. What you want to convey, that is more important, and the way you're conveying is more important. Okay, next is expressing words in communications falls under. So expressing words, when you're like if two people are talking and one is saying something and expressing, so this expressing words will fall under sender, message, channel or receiver. So the right answer here is option A. Obviously, sender is the person who is transferring the message, so he will be expressing his or her thoughts. So expressing words will come under a center. The message, whatever the idea or the information is, that is the message. Channel is how you are sending that message. Is it through an email or a letter or through face to face conversation? And receiver is the person who receives the message. Okay, next, communication via new media such as computers, telecommunication, internet, mobile telephony is termed as. So in this question, they are saying that whenever there is exchange of information, via means through new media means the latest technologies, like we have computer, internet, and teleshopping. Which kind of communication it is? What communication you call it when it is through the latest technology? Is it entertainment, interactive communication, development communication, or communitarian? The right answer is interactive communication. B is the right answer. Next is, which of the following is not a principle of effective communication? Okay. Uh, the options are persuasive and convincing dialogue. Yes, this is important for a communication to be effective. Since the question is saying which is not a principle, so this is not right because it is a principle. Participation of the audience is very important because it gives you feedback. This is also a principle. Strategic use of grapevine. See, grapevine is when there is communication in an organization like gossips and rumors, that is grapevine. So we should use that information also carefully. While which is not a principle of communication is option C, one way transfer of information, because effective communication will always be when there is feedback involved in the communication process. So one way transfer of information is not an effective communication. Okay. See, classroom communication is normally considered as, the question is asking, how is the uh, normal a classroom communication, how is it regarded, or how is it looked at, whether it is effective, cognitive, affective, or selective. The right answer is cognitive. So cognitive is the process when, the students, they learn something, understand it, and apply it, like in maths, when the teacher teaches the students some rules, and they apply it in the problem. So this is cognitive. B is the answer. When verbal and non-verbal messages are contradictory, contradictory means opposite, it is said that most people believe it. So sometimes you might see, you ask someone, how are you? They say, yes, I am fine, but from the face you can understand that there is something wrong with them, they are sad, or they're tensed about something. So the question is asking, what will you believe? Will you believe the verbal message, means that the person is saying he's fine, or will you believe the non-verbal message, which his eyes or the face expression is showing? Obviously, you will believe the non-verbal messages, because students, with our tongue we might say something else, but we can. It is very difficult to hide your expression. That because that is why most people will believe in the non-verbal messages rather than the verbal messages. Okay, C is the answer to this. In a classroom, probability of message reception can be enhanced by. So if you want the messages that is sent by the teacher, you want it to go to the students appropriately, or if you want to have more impact, what should you do? Should you expose ignorance of students, means if someone is doing wrong, you should like punish him, or expose him. No, this is not right. Increase the information load. Okay, just giving facts and information will not enhance message reception. This is not right. Using high decibel audio tools. So do you think only speakers and all these tools will increase message reception? This is also not right. The right answer is establishing a viewpoint. If you want that the student should understand something, so you should establish a viewpoint. Like if you want to tell the students that junk food is harmful, so instead of saying that junk food is bad, that will not impact the student. The right way is to tell the benefits of eating healthy food and the disadvantages of eating junk food. So when students will see there are numerous benefits of eating a healthy food, and the disadvantages associated with the junk food, they will automatically start eating healthy food. So this is by establishing a viewpoint. That is why D is the answer. A good communicator begins his or her presentation with a non sequitur, repetitive phrase, icebreaker, or complex question. So, as you all know, that whenever a teacher or any speaker starts with a new topic, so they should always want it to be interesting. So, the good idea is to start it with icebreaker. Icebreaker is like if a teacher is going to tell you about mountains. Okay, so instead of just starting with mountains, she can ask, has anyone ever been to a mountain? And then she can ask further, ask, how was it, what was the trees like, what was the temperature like? So that way, that is an icebreaker, asking a particular kind of a question, or starting with a small game or a quiz. So that is a good idea. Icebreaker is a good idea for starting with a presentation. The classroom communication should essentially be, the question is asking, how should be a classroom communication? What is the feature of classroom communication? Empathetic, abstract, non-descriptive, or country? The right answer is option A, empathetic. It means considering the feelings of other. If we are talking about like wealth or salary, we should a classroom communication or discussion should be in a manner that it does not hurt the feeling or of poor students who does not belong to a very rich family. So that is empathetic. Listening to a lecture is information listening, evaluative listening, empathetic listening, or none of these. So as you all know, when the teacher delivers a lecture, her target is to give information to the students. So it is a kind of information listening. The students are learning some facts or information about a particular topic in a classroom. Is the teaching on TV is superior to classroom instructions because the question is saying that there are more benefits of teaching on TV rather than classroom, and the question is asking why is that so? Whether it is very large classes are made possible and thus it is economically advantageous, or experts for teaching a difficult topic can be arranged and others can benefit, teaching material can be filled for reuse, or all of these. The right answer to this question is option D, because if you look at the options more carefully, it is saying very large classes are made possible. Yes, this is true, because more people are targeted. Experts for teaching a difficult topic can be arranged. So sometimes the teacher might find some topic difficult, so there could be replacement for that topic, and uh, the teaching material could be reused. Okay, because it is film, it is recorded, it can be used. So all of these are benefits of teaching on TV as compared to classroom. A speaker using complex terms is an example of physiological noise, psychological noise, semantic noise, or physical noise. So these are the different barriers of communication. Physiological noise is like if somebody is having headache or stomach ache or they are hungry, that is physiological. Psychological means if they are shy or if they are introvert. Physical noise is like if there is some background disturbance in the class, in the area where the speech is going on. So if you look at option C, it is the right answer, semantic noise. So complex terms, sometimes a speaker might use very difficult terminology which the audience might not understand. So this is an example of semantic noise, the barrier related to language. Okay, language barrier. Assertion and reason question. Assertion is saying media entertainment does not enhance cultural level of society, while reason is saying most media entertainment encourages escapism, not content quality. So as you all know, whenever you see a movie or a serial, it takes you to a different world, that is called escapism. Okay, so most media it is able to do that, but there is not content quality. There is no content quality. While you look at assertion, assertion is also right. It is saying that media entertainment does not enhance the cultural level of society, because not only media will not be able to do this. So although individually they are right, but their reason is not the correct explanation of assertion. That is why B is the right answer to this question. Touch is an important element in business communication, interpersonal, intrapersonal communication, or none of these. So touch is an important element in interpersonal communication, the communication that happens between two people. It could be formal or informal. Next is in analog mass communication, stories are. So analog mass communication, it could be a radio, which is an example of analog mass communication. So there the stories are static. Okay, there is a person who is delivering that story or that message, and the other person is listening. It is not dynamic like a classroom where the students and the teacher they discuss. So that is dynamic. Interactive is also the same thing, and exploratory is exploring or finding out why something happens. So in analog communication, stories are static. A message beneath a message is labeled as embedded text, internal text, intertext, or subtext. The right answer to this question is option D, subtext. It means you know that somebody has a bad breath. Okay, whenever he is saying, there's a bad smell coming out from that person's mouth. So instead of saying that your mouth is smelling bad, you can say, okay, there is a new flavor of mouth freshener. Do you want to try it? So although you are pointing out or you are just saying to try a mouth freshener, but you are instead indirectly trying to say that there is bad smell coming out of your mouth. So that is called subtext. The message is something else, but you are telling something else. Message beneath the message. Is the answer. Which of the following are part of active listening? Eye contact, nodding, seeking clarification, or all of these? So active listening is eye contact because it helps it tells the speaker that the receiver is understanding. Nodding also because you are sending a feedback. Seeking clarification if there is a doubt from the students or the listeners end, the speaker understands, okay, they are understanding something, that is why they are asking a doubt. So all of these are a part of active listening. Next is to decode a message is to. So there are two important terms, encode and decode. The question is asking what is the meaning of decoding a message. Evaluate a message, translate, reject a message, or interpret a message. Decoding, it helps at the receiver's end, you have to remember the students, and encoding, it happens at the sender's end. Okay. So if you look at the question, to decode a message, it means to interpret a message. Okay, understand what the speaker is trying to tell you. Okay, that is decoding. One's own description as a person is self-concept, self-perception, self-awareness, or self-respect. What do you think of yourself? Where do you see yourself in a group? That is called self-concept. Is the answer. Which of the following is the essence of effective communication? So, what is the basis of effective communication? Message, feedback, encoding, or decoding? So, as you all know, message is the information. Encoding, it happens at the sender's end, and and at the receiver's end, decoding happens, and it is interpreting the message. Feedback is the essence of effective communication. Okay, B is the answer. A low context culture is where most information is unspoken, most information is explicitly stated in a verbal message, most of the information is apparent, or most information is non existent. So, there are different types of culture, students. Like there is high culture context, which happens usually in India and Japan, while there is low context culture which usually happens in US or your European countries, where most of the information is explicitly stated. Okay. There is not a very the sender and the receiver do not have a very personal bond between each other. Okay, they talk formally, all the information is explicitly stated. Okay. A verbal communication technique used in teaching is, so expression in words, no, this is not right. Presentation without a pause is also not right. Resorting, semantic jugglery is also not right. The right answer is varying the speed of voice and tone. So, whenever required, the teacher can emphasize on a particular point and she can change the tone as well of her voice. So, which makes different things important. Okay, so that tells students, okay, this is important. Through the pitch, also through the tone, um, the teacher can tell students what is important in it. Figure out the components of non-verbal communication in the classroom from the following. So if you look at the options, facial expression, culture, space, and seating arrangement. Okay, let's read the others. Speed of utterance, good feel good factors, acoustics, high speed, physical ambience, teacher learner distance. Facial expression, kinesics. Kinesics is the movement of the body. Okay, and personal space. The right answer or the most appropriate answer is option D, facial expression, kinesics, and personal space. Communication between HR manager and salesman is an example of. So, students, in an organization also there are different types of communication: upwards, downwards, diagonal, or cross communication. So, if you look at the options, whenever HR manager and salesmen they are talking, it is an example of downward communication. Okay, horizontal is when people of equal status they are communicated. Vertical means when a senior is talking to a junior. So Even that is of two types, upwards and downwards. So when a senior is talking to the junior, it is downwards, or when the junior is talking to the senior, it is upwards communication. Okay. So diagonal is when the people of different departments or different statuses, they communicate. It is diagonal communication. The place where public opinions are formed as a result of communication is. So students, sometimes what happens is, there is a place where citizens, they come together, they exchange their opinions regarding some um, public affairs, they discuss, and they eventually come at a public opinion. So that is called a public sphere. B is the answer to this question. Catwalk is a fine example of verbal communication. So, do you think catwalk is verbal? No words are used. So, it is not verbal. Cybernetics also is not the right answer. Interpersonal is when two people are talking. So, that is also not right. It is an example of kinesics, body movements, how you are walking or how your hands are moving. That is kinesics. Okay. So, a kind of walk where, like models walk or cats walk is called a catwalk. What is the type of verbal communication do in a classroom? Spoken, spoken and written, written or body language? The right answer to this is spoken and written. Teacher explains while speaking also, and she writes also in the classroom. So both of these are used in a classroom. What is meant by semantic in classroom teaching? It concerns excellence in teaching, concerns problems in communication, concerns verbal and non-verbal code, or concerns transmission of information. So semantics in classroom communication is, it concerns verbal and non-verbal codes. C is the answer to this question. Group of people formed through web-based interaction is called media community, virtual community, international or internet community. The right answer is virtual. Virtual is something that it physically does not happen, but still it is there. So, sometimes you might have seen there are different groups that are formed on Facebook or on Twitter. So that group of people is called a virtual community. Okay, physically they don't exist, but in the virtual world, like the world of computers and internet, it does exist. Telephone is an example of linear communication, non-linear, circular, or mechanized. The right answer is linear communication, because there is one way transfer of information is there in a telephone. Both encoding and decoding of message are influenced by our emotions. Is this statement true, false, or maybe, or never? So, students, you all know, you must be knowing that emotions are so important whenever there is communication. So, while the speaker is saying or while the receiver is interpreting the message, emotions are very important. This statement is absolutely right. That is why A is the answer to this question. Dash means to impart understanding of the message. Encoding, receiving, receiver, decoding, or feedback. So impart understanding of the message is called decoding. It happens at the receiver end. Next is, dash is the first enemy of communication. Noise, clarity, politeness, or completeness. So as you all know, clarity is very important. What the person is trying to say is very important. Polite, we shouldn't be rude while communicating. Complete means uh, the information is complete, it is not in parts. So all these three are important, but the enemy or what is a barrier to communication is noise. Noise is any kind of hindrance that it becomes an obstacle in the communication process. Hence A is the answer. Next is, which of these elements is not involved in the process of communication? So if you look at the options, sender is involved in communication. He is the person who initiates the conversation. So this is not right. Message is also very important. Channel is which means we are using for communication is also very important. But pipe is not involved in the process of communication. So this is an odd one out in the four options. Next is, for effective communication, which of these commandments should not follow? objective of communication, inadequate medium, clarity, or adequate medium? The right answer to this question is option B. Inadequate means something that is not enough, not sufficient. So there, the medium should be sufficient. So the question is saying for effective communication, inadequate medium should not be followed. For example, you want to uh, transfer some important information to somebody who is living in abroad, and if there is there is going to be a power cut, so that is an example of inadequate medium. Evaluative listening is successful when accurately distinguish between a message, understand the intended meaning of a message, make critical assessment of the accuracy of facts of the message, or all of the above. The right answer is option C, make critical assessment. So, what is evaluation? Evaluation is passing judgments to anything. That is called evaluation. So, making critical assessment of the facts is evaluative listening. Next question is the mode of communication that involves single source transferring information or transmitting information to a large group or number of receivers simultaneously, means together at once, is called, it is called mass communication. For example, your radio or your television or your internet, all these are example of mass communication. Your newspapers, which is called print media, is also an example of mass communication. In the classroom, the teacher sends the message either as words or images. The students are really encoders, decoders, agitators, or propagators. So the students are decoders because their task is to understand what the teacher is trying to say. That is why B is the answer. An interview is a type of dyadic communication, multi-dyadic, mass communication, or none of these. So in an interview, what happens? There is one interviewer who is taking the interview, and the person who is giving is called interviewee. It is a kind of dyadic communication. Dyadic communication is another name for interpersonal communication. So interpersonal is when there is communication between two people. Okay, when there is one person, it is called intrapersonal, but when there are two people, it is called interpersonal communication. And dyadic communication is another name for interpersonal communication. Is the answer. Listening is badly affected by message overload, access of listened material, high speed of speaking, a sizable hearing loss, or all of these. So, what are the factors that can badly affect or affect the listening in a negative way? It is when the speaker is giving a lot of information. Yes, this will affect the listening. High speed means speaking very fast. That will also affect listening. A sizable hearing loss or physiological problem is if the listener has some hearing problem, so that will also affect listening. That is why D is the answer to this question. Better classroom management means peer group work and better interaction among pupils. Yes, this is important for a better classroom management. Prior preparation of the teacher in the making of suitable aids. Yes, this is important. The teacher should do all the preparation for a class. Punctuality of the teacher in the class and finishing the course. Even this is very important. So, how a class will be managed throughout the session? For these, all of these are very important factors. That is why D is the answer to this question. Next is which of the following teachers will you like the most? One who uses broad board occasionally, or one who uses film projector along with proper use of the board, one who uses motion picture as a last resort, or one who uses charts and maps. The right answer is that the teacher should use both film projector and the board. That is why B is the right answer. Next is the primary channels used by individuals to communicate with others are radio and television, email, tone and voice, or sight and sound. So both sight and sound are the primary channels or primary medium that are used by people to communicate with other individuals. Given below are two statements. One is assertion and the other is reason. You have to find out if both assertion and reason are right, or if one is right and the other is wrong. Let's read it. Assertion is saying classroom communication has a cultural dimension. Okay. And the reason is saying beliefs, habit, customs, and language are the cultural characteristics of communication. In this question, the right answer is option A. Classroom communication does has cultural dimension. Yes, this is right. And even the reason is right, and the reason is the correct explanation of the assertion. Listening, reading, speaking, and writing all are types of communication skills, emotional barriers, evaluative techniques, or non-verbal communication. Right answer is option A. A good communication skills involves all the aspects of communication, which is listening, reading, speaking, and writing. In communication, the language is non-verbal code, verbal code, intrapersonal code, or symbolic code. Students, as you all know that every language has a particular set of rules for the creation of the message or the sentence. So that rule is called a verbal code. So in communication, the language is the verbal code. B is the right answer. Which of the following are the characteristic features of communication? Communication involves exchange of ideas, facts, and opinion. Yes, it does. Communication involves both information and understanding. Yes, this is also true. Communication is a continuous process. Yes, it goes on and on. Like if you see this video, you reply in the comment section. Then I will reply to your comment. So the communication is a continuous process. It will go on continuously. Communication is a circular process. Like since there is a feedback, so there is a circular transfer of information between the sender and the receiver. So if all of these are the right answer, if you look at the options, A is the right answer. A, B, C, D is right. Next is the term grapevine is also known as. So in organizational communication, there is a different type of communication which is called grapevine. Um, it is not horizontal, nor downward, nor upward. It is a kind of information, informal communication which involves rumors or your gossips. Okay, so it may not be true, but still this type of communication it definitely exists in an organization. Internal and external factors that affect message reception by the students in the classroom are referred as. So there are internal factors like there are some students causing disturbance, or if the student is not well. External factors could be loud music from outside the class. So all these things that affect message reception is called as noise. Noise is any kind of disturbance that comes inside a classroom or in the communication process. Arriving ahead of time for a meeting is an example of. So sometimes if your meeting is at 10 a.m., okay, 10 in the morning, and you reach the office at 10:50 for the interview. So the person who is going to take the interview, he will get a message that you are a punctual person and you are proactive and you are eager for this job. So even that timing of your interview, if you come early, that is also a type of non-verbal communication. Even if you are not saying anything, but still you are communicating something by the time you are coming. So this comes under chronemics. Okay, this is a type of non-verbal communication. That is why C is the answer to this question.